Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone's having a good day and I hope everyone's having a good week so far. But here we are, guys, with episode 12 of my podcast, The Eidolon Wall. And today's going to be an interesting one because I know not many people realize that the games I'm going to be talking about in this episode are actually Square Enix games. Not many people realize it. Because, as you can tell from the podcast intro, excuse me, the games I'll be talking about are the Survivor Trilogy Tomb Raider games. And for those who don't know, these are the games that include 2013's Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Because not many people know that those are in fact Square Enix games. Because they were made by Crystal Dynamics, who at the time were owned by Square Enix. So yeah, so this technically makes them Square Enix games. Unfortunately, Square Enix no longer own Crystal Dynamics, but regardless, they are still classed as Square Enix games. And we all know Tomb Raider. We all know, it's a great series. It's a great series. It's an amazing series. There's a lot of great fun with it. And I think before I get into what is Tomb Raider and about the Tomb Raider games, I'm gonna quickly put on some Tomb Raider music to set the mood. So bear with me, guys. Right. Anyway, so yes, obviously I'm gonna start with what is Tomb Raider. Well, for those who don't know, Tomb Raider is a series. Tomb Raider is a series that first started in 1996. Yeah, it first started in 1996 with the company Core Design. And it paved the way for a lot of games of its like. A lot of games, that are about, solving puzzles and going into like ancient tombs, finding treasures, stuff like that. And it all started with Tomb Raider 1 in 1996. A very fun game. I remember I loved playing it as a kid. I loved playing it. Me and my dad both loved playing it. We both enjoyed the series, and we both really liked the series. And and it was a lot of fun. It was very, it was very, searching hidden temples, finding treasures, seeing these little stories, fighting enemies, like finding ancient civilizations and ancient creatures, stuff like that. And it was very fun games. And Tomb Raider, as we know, and demolished the whole town for future archaeologists. Exactly. And as we know, the main character of... Bear with me, I'm just opening my drink. Oh. Sorry, my monster has just gone everywhere. But, as we know, as everyone knows from the Tomb Raider series, we all know the protagonist of those series, Lara Croft. A British lady who doesn't seem like, at the time she wasn't your average protagonist. Because the protagonists of fighting video games were predominantly male. So she was the first female protagonist. Well, no, she was one of the first female protagonists to really stand out. She's one of the first female protagonists to really stand out, to really make a mark in video games. The first female protagonist, of course, being Samus Aran from Metroid. But Lara Croft has definitely made a mark all her own, with being the Tomb Raider, with being a role model for women, like. Regardless, now of course there are controversies with this. People think she's not a role model. People think she's an over sexualized sex idol. Think about what you will, but no one can disagree that she's a role model for women. Regardless what you think, she has been a role model for women because she has constantly shown that you can doesn't matter if you're a woman, you can do your dream, you can obtain your dream, you can. If you want to become an archaeologist, explore ancient cultures, explore the world, travel the world, you want to do all this, do all that, go for it. You're not limited. You don't have to be a man to do it all. And she's definitely proven that with how she is as a character. She goes hiking, she goes abseiling, she goes mountain climbing, She does all sorts of extreme sports, but again, she's also a British lady, so she mixes elegance and refinement with adrenaline, and she makes for a very great character. And in the original games, she was a bit one-dimensional. I will admit. In the first game, she was a bit one-dimensional. There wasn't much to her character. We didn't really see any growth. It was just, she's the Tomb Raider. She's the world-renowned Lady Lara Croft, British lady, all-around badass, jet-setter, expert archaeologist. We saw all of these in the Tomb Raider, but they never really went in depth in her character. And she went through various games. Tomb Raider 1. Tomb Raider 1. She rediscovered Atlantis. Tomb Raider 2. She found a mystical dagger, a mystical dagger that was locked away under the Great Wall of China. So on, and like Tomb Raider 3. She had all sorts. She had like free crystals that she went to find. Tomb Raider 4. She ended up going against her former mentor. What was his name? Von Croy. That's it, Von Croy. And then of course Tomb Raider 5, we got our first glimpse with Tomb Raider 5. We got our second glimpse as Lara Croft because our first glimpse was in the 4, The Last Revelation, where we saw Lara as a girl of 15, 16, around the age. And we saw her young, before she became the Tomb Raider. And it was in Tomb Raider 5 that we saw another adventure of hers, where she went to the Black Isle as a young girl. And so we definitely saw a bit of growth with her over through the years. But it wasn't until Tomb Raider Legends. It wasn't until Tomb Raider Legend that they then gave her a bit more of a personality. They gave her a bit more of a story. Tomb Raider Legend Tomb Raider Legend also introduced the story of her mother, of how her mother disappeared. Her mother disappeared one day, and her father, I believe her father was killed by someone. I can't remember. But yes, her mother disappeared in Tomb Raider Legends, and she has spent her life trying to find out what happened. So they definitely introduced a lot of character growth. Not a lot of character growth, but they introduced a story with Lara, and they gave her a bit more of a personality. And in chat, Ratforce says, "Was that the eyeliner?" It was the Lara that first introduced Alistair and Zip, and it was the Lara Croft that went after Excalibur. That she found Excalibur during her travels, and we also got to see a bit more of her past as well, in the form of her old friend, now enemy, Amanda, who is a very good character. Sorry, again, just having a drink. So Tomb Raider Legends definitely gave her a bit more of a personality. And they continued this throughout the games with Tomb Raider Underworld, Angel of Darkness. They gave her a bit more personality, a bit more depth to her. So the games definitely went on, and they changed Lara up to bring something more to players, and more for the story of her. There are of course some versions of her that still fall flat, like the Temple of Osiris Lara and the Guardians of Light Lara. There's still a bit more like, there's not enough like 3D to her. Not a lot of depth to her. We still have a bit more, flat. Although they've given her a bit more personality, there's still a bit more flatness to her. And then, of course, before I get into that, but despite all this, the Tomb Raider games have gone down through the years as honestly one of the best examples of the kind of game that it is, again, action, adventure, exploring, puzzles, and it's become Tomb Raider has become the influence for many other games of its like, such as Uncharted, for example, another amazing series, that has also just drawn a lot of people and also influenced a lot of games like it. But of course, this isn't a Naughty Dog podcast, so as much as I would love to gush about Uncharted, I can't. As much as I would, because I love those games too. But yeah, but Tomb Raider has definitely cemented its popularity for games of those like, and the gamers who play it. But of course, as I said, there's still that bit of lack of depth with Lara. Like that's. Although the older games have been fun, it's drawn a lot of fans. A lot of people love Lara Croft. She's become an icon for, she's become, an icon of beauty and badass. She's become a role model for women to pursue their dreams and not care what people say. Just do what you wish to do. She's become a strong role model. Despite what people say, she's definitely become a strong role model. But of course, despite all the good things about the older games, again, there's still that lack of explaining just who Lara is. How did Lara become the Tomb Raider? How did Lara get to where she is now? Like obviously she was born into a rich family, the Crofts. But how did she get to where she is? How did she become the Tomb Raider? What was her first adventure? Stuff like that. And we received these answers in the separate universe games that are the Survivor trilogy. In 2013, we were introduced to shortly before 2013, it was announced that we were getting a new Tomb Raider game. And many people were excited, they thought, oh, is it going to be like Tomb Raider Legends? Are we going to get a sequel to Angel of Darkness, or Angel of Darkness remake, stuff like that. A lot of people wondering what it was going to be. And then, of course, it was announced, Tomb Raider 2013 was announced by Crystal Dynamics, who, again, were owned by Square Enix at the time. And then Tomb Raider 2013 was announced, and it definitely left people with questions, because, we see this new trailer, we see this new, clearly young Lara, we've seen this new young Lara, this new Lara who seems young, she's fresh out of college, she doesn't seem as confident, as brazen, as badass as we know from the original games. She seems, again, like she's just fresh out of college. She seems very, like she's a complete rookie. She knows nothing about archaeology, like all this. She's very green behind the gills, if you were. And so Tomb Raider 2013 gets released, and this adventure takes a fresh out of college Lara, fresh out of university Lara, sorry, because she's it's Britain, she's British, she went for university, yes, it takes a fresh out of university Lara to an island in a place called the Devil's Triangle, which is similar to the Bermuda Triangle, and it takes her to she is searching for the lost island, the lost kingdom of Yamatai, the lost kingdom of Yamatai, an empire ruled by Himiko, the Sun Queen in Japanese mythology, in Japanese history. And she, along with a bunch of a team of friends, are journeying to find Yamatai. That to find the kingdom of the Empire of the Sun Queen, to unearth its mysteries. And she's joined by excuse me, the owner of the boat. She's joined by her university friend Sam, who is it was rumored that she was descended from Himiko. She's joined by she's joined by what's his name? She was joined by everyone's favorite friend, Jonah, who as you go for the series, you see that, Jonah is a lovely character, and she's joined by Roth, her mentor, who was also a friend of her dad. She's joined by a whole cast of characters. And they shipwreck on the island called Yamatai. And immediately, Lara is thrust into this mysterious adventure where she's shipwrecked, she's alone, she has no idea what's going on. And as she journeys, as she starts going through the island, she soon meets people who are denizens of the island, but they don't quite seem to be all there. They don't seem to be genuine. She meets a guy named Matthias, who at first he seems, very nice, very, very welcoming. Like he's a fellow shipwrecker. He's also been shipwrecked. He's been stranded. But obviously, you soon see there's something up with him. And as Lara journeys through the island, she soon sees that the denizens of the island worship Himiko as a god. They worship Himiko, the Sun Queen, as a god, and they're trying to hunt her down to, kill her, sacrifice her, and they're trying to use her friend Sam, who is this. In fact, it turns out is descended from Himiko, as a sacrifice to bring back Himiko. And so Lara goes for this journey, and again, she's new to all this. She's new to all of this, all this spooky stuff, this supernatural stuff, all of this. She's new to it. So of course, it soon freaks her out. She sees monsters. She sees the crazed denizens. She sees Himiko's immortal samurai, the Storm Guard. She ends up swimming in a river of blood. She sees crazed denizens underground. She goes for all of this for stuff, and not just this. And it's not just seeing all these crazy enemies, all these people hunting after her. The 2013 Tomb Raider games, 2013 Tomb Raider game was also different because unlike the original games that had levels, 2013 had chapters, and you could actually explore around the island. You could actually explore the island. You could fast travel to different places. You could actually explore. And as Lara, she didn't have her guns. All she had was a climbing axe and a bow. And so we get to play as a Lara who's very under-equipped. She's not as equipped with her usual her iconic twin pistols. She's just got a simple bow, a torch, and a climbing axe. That's it. And so she's soon sneaking around like these. She's soon sneaking around these enemies, trying to find out how to escape the island. What's going on the island? What's going on the island? What's happening? How to get away? How to rescue her friends? So on and so forth. And as she goes through the island, like I said, she gets her first real experience with the supernatural. Again, soon meeting Himiko's Storm Guard. And as she goes through, she finds out more about a mysterious company called Trinity. It's where we first see the enemies of the trilogy, the company known as Trinity. And they're still shrouded in mystery. Matthias talks about them a little bit. And we're soon treated to the question of who is Trinity. And so as Lara goes through the island, she soon finds out Matthias's plot. He wants to use Sam to bring back Himiko, etc. And of course, Lara stops him. She kills Himiko. She stops her from being resurrected, and they get rescued because a boat that they managed to contact comes to rescue them. And this was Lara's and again this ended Lara's first adventure as a quote unquote Tomb Raider, and it definitely gave her a bit more of a thrill to find out more about Trinity and just more ancient civilizations and such. And it's interesting to note as well because in the 2013 Tomb Raider, we get introduced to a staple of the series. Because in the 2013 Tomb Raider, In the 2013 Tomb Raider, she gets her iconic twin pistols from Roth, from her father's friend and her mentor Roth. She gets his twin pistols. And these pistols she then keeps for the entire trilogy. So that is how in this universe she gets her iconic twin pistols. And then, of course, Rise of the Tomb Raider happens, where her and Jonah are trying to find out just who Trinity are. They're trying to find out who Trinity are, what's their connection to Lara, why does her father know who Lara is? No, sorry. What is Trinity's connection to her father, and why are they looking for a mystical man known as the Prophet? A man who is said to be immortal. And of course, this takes Lara to all sorts of locations. Takes Lara to all sorts of locations in Rise of the Tomb Raider. And as she's going on, you can see that she's a bit more seasoned. She's a bit more seasoned. She's a bit more hardened from her time on Yamatai. But of course, there's still the nightmares, there's still the nightmares, the flashbacks to being on that island, There's a part of her that still can't escape the island. So she's a bit more confident. But she's also a bit more determined and reckless in trying to find out who Trinity are. Excuse me. Trying to find out who Trinity are, and why, and what is their interest in the legendary city in Siberian myth called Kitesh? Why they are interested in Kitesh and this mythical prophet. And so she journeys to stop Trinity. She journeys to stop Trinity and find out what they're doing. Along the way, trying to discover what their connection to her father was, because it's also in this game that we are introduced to her father's girlfriend, who he struck a relationship up with some years after her mother Amelia passed away. And as the game goes on, we're treated to flashbacks of Lara. Lara is told Lara is given the opportunity to take over her father's company, and to just cement her future. She's pushed by her father's girlfriend, Anna, to do this, but Lara refuses because she's still obsessed with Trinity and Yamatai. She can't. A part of her will never escape that island. And then as she goes through the game, she struggles with this. Trying to find who Trinity is. Her burning passion to discover the truth. But of course, she ends up being reckless with it. And she's being a bit stupid. She ends up causing problems. She's not doing what she should be doing cleverly. Excuse me. And so they definitely give Lara a bit more growth in this game. A bit more growth. She's a bit wiser. She's a bit more knowledgeable. She's a bit more confident. But there's still that urge to find out just who Trinity are, and again, what is their connection to her father. And Rise of the Tomb Raider also did things differently as well, because taking the partial open world of 2013's Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider gave you more open world exploration in many of the areas in the game. Excuse me. Most notably in the Siberian snowfields, you get, and around the oil rigs. There you get to explore, and then you get to explore around the forest. You can fast travel to the different campsites and explore other areas. And also, most notably as well, is when she finally finds the legendary city of Katesh, where some refugees are being led by a man called Jacob. And it's in Katesh that the open worldness of the game gets enhanced even more, because there's challenges, there's collectibles, there's side quests. And so there's definitely the game definitely gives you a lot more of an open world aspect with it, a lot more of a chance to explore Katesh, explore the plains of Siberia, the land of Russia, all sorts. And all the while trying to find what is Trinity want with Katesh. Look in the chat, Raptor says, yeah, he enjoyed the 2013 Tomb Raider. I did too. I absolutely love it. And Red Beth has also come into chat. Hello, Red Beth. Hopefully you're doing good today. And excuse me. And while she's searching for the legendary city of Katesh, she's dogged by one of Trinity's agents called Constantine, who believes himself to be some messiah or a chosen one, and mostly because of a mark on his cheek. And she constantly gets dogged by Constantine. She has these encounters with Constantine, and they butt heads, they get in each other's way. But it's in the last kind of like quarter of the game that we also learn as well, like Lara experiences her first real betrayal of someone she thought to at least have cared about her. And this, because it's in this part of the game, the last quarter of the game, that we then discover that Anna is Constantine's sister, and she is a member of Trinity, having seduced Lara's father, Lord Richard Croft, into to try and find out what he knows about Katesh and what he knows about Trinity. Because we also find out that when she was a girl, Sir Richard Croft had been assassinated. He had been assassinated by a Trinity agent in his own study in Croft Manor. And it's also, and so Lara experiences her first real betrayal. Her first, again, even though her and Anna had her differences, she cared about Anna. She thought that Anna was, at least cared about her was starting to care about her like a daughter. But of course, Anna betrays her. And Lara experienced her first real betrayal. Her first brutal experience of betrayal, thus making her a bit more hardened and a bit less inclined to trust people straight away. One of the exceptions being Jonah, who is still in the game, who has always been an older brother to her. That's never changed, and Jonah has never betrayed her. But even so, this betrayal from Anna at least puts her on so much edge that she even suspects Jonah that Jonah may betray her. Of course, this gets obviously proven false, because Jonah is an absolute dude and loyal to a fault, even calling Lara Little Bird, which I think is a really nice touch. And so, of course, Lara continues her search for Katesh and the search for the Prophet, only to find out Jacob is the Prophet. And there is an undead army. Protecting the treasure of the treasure of Katesh, the source of immortality, because that is the secret of Katesh. The secret of Katesh is that there's immortality. That the Prophet of Constantinople was a key figure in the Katesh and Legend of Katesh, and he had the means to be immortal. And he had an artifact called the Divine Source. He had an artifact called the Divine Source, which could grant immortality. This, which he also used to create some soldiers called the Deathless. Called the Deathless Ones. And of course, it's not really seen why Constantine Um, like it's not really seen why Constantine wants the source, the divine source. But we find out later we find out later in the game. Anna is suffering from a terminal illness that Constantine wants to use the divine source to cure herself with. And of course, it's there we go. Usual villain stuff. Constantine doesn't know just how he doesn't know what to expect with the source. Even with Jacob constantly trying to warn Lara that the source is not what she expects. It's not. It's real, but it's not what she expects. Sorry, just checking something quickly. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. Right, yeah, sorry, I was just checking something. But yeah. Jacob tries to warn Lara that that the divine source is real, but it's not what she expects. It's not what she expects it to be. It's not just some. It's not some divine artifact which can just grant immortality. There's a catch. It bestows immortality upon everyone who gazes upon it, at the cost of their soul, which goes into the source to maintain, to prevent their death. This is, of course, what happened to Jacob, who is, as Lara finds out, is the prophet. He is the immortal prophet who first owned the divine source. And of course, just like with Yamatai and Himiko, the divine source is protected by an army of immortal soldiers called the Deathless Ones, who, of course, can't actually die. Lara can only stop them. And as Lara goes through the game with Jacob, goes through Katesh with Jacob, finds the Atlas to find the divine source, try and find it out, while constantly dogged by Constantine and Anna. We learn more about the source and Jacob, and of course, and we even witness Constantine's death. At the hands of Lara, and it's at his death that Constantine reveals what I just said a moment ago, that Sir Richard Croft's death was not a suicide. As it was not a suicide that Lara first fought. It was an assassination by Trinity. Trinity are the ones who killed her father. Something Anna knows about, which is of course, Lara's pissed off at. But and as she continues on, she finds that she finds that Anna has already found the divine source and is about to activate it. But what happens is that Anna is overwhelmed by its power, which gives Lara the chance to destroy the divine source. Unfortunately, this also means Jacob will pass away too, because his soul was in the divine source, and his body is basically dust. It's basically walking dust, because the divine source is keeping his body alive with the immortality. And of course, this also leaves Lara to give the news of Jacob's death to his daughter Sophia. And And of course, this isn't at the end of the game as well, because 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later in the game story, at Croft Manor, Lara and Jonah are planning their next expedition because Lara wants to investigate more of the world's mysteries. Rising as a Tomb Raider. She's continuing her rise as a Tomb Raider. She's got that thirst for mystery. Excuse me. She's now got that thirst for mystery and adventure that the original Lara had that made her a Tomb Raider, And so this is, as the game's name implies, the rise of the Tomb Raider. And so, with this game, like with 2013, we see a lot of growth with Lara. 2013, she was scared. She was fresh out of university. She was scared. She had no idea about any of mysteries of history and all that. She was scared. She didn't have any of the skills she had. She had none of the confidence, the weapons, the know-how, the ability. She didn't have nothing. She was basically a normal girl with just a love of history. But as the game went on, as 2013 went on, she became more hardened, more, determined to fight for survival, more determined to stop evil. And having to constantly kill people. Like the first people she's ever killed are the cultists. She's never killed anyone in her life. And it's horrifying for her. But the more she goes on in the island, the more she gets used to it. Not because she likes it, but because she knows that she has no choice. It's survive. She has to be a survivor. The Survivor trilogy. And so, the 2013, again, we see Lara become a bit more hardened. She's like, okay, I can't keep crying anymore. I can't let fear get in the way anymore. I have to keep going to escape this damn island. And then, of course, Rise of the Tomb Raider, we see, she's starting to get a bit more into the actual archaeology side, trying to find the ruins of Katesh, trying to find the legendary city of Katesh, the divine source, trying to find just what happened to her father, was his death a suicide, find out more about Trinity, etc., etc. So we see, again, the rise of the Tomb Raider. She's getting that spirit for archaeology, that spirit for adventure, She's more agile, she's got more experience under her belt, doing mountain climbing and rappelling and abseiling and all sorts of, just some extreme sports. She's getting that confidence that she has in the original games. Even though it's a separate universe, she's getting that confidence she has in the original games to where she's confident, she's badass, she's knowledgeable, she's wise, she's getting the expertise that she had in the original games. And so that's what happens in Rise of the Tomb Raider. But of course, in there's also a post-credit scene as well, which ties into the third and final game in the Survivor trilogy, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, because in this post-credit scene shows Lara 2 weeks before her and Jonah leave Siberia. She She and Anna are lost in a snowfield. She asked Anna, did Anna kill her father? Anna, of course, denies this, saying Trinity gave her the order, but she couldn't do it because she loved she loved Lord Richard Croft. She actually loved him, so she couldn't do it. But of course, Trinity, being the evil company they are, the evil organization they don't let this slide. Before she can say anything else, Anna is taken out and assassinated by a sniper in the distance. A sniper who asks his superior about killing Lara, but is told to stand down for the time being. Thus making the player think, what's going on with Trinity? What's the deal with Trinity? And again, this leads to more questions for Lara of who are Trinity? What is their connection with her father? Why did they want to kill her father? And it was definitely again, there was a lot of growth. There was a lot of growth in the game. There was Yeah, there's a lot of growth from the game. Lara again, bit more battle hardened, and after seeing Anna die, and everything that happened in Siberia, she's a bit more hardened. She's a bit more determined to find her father's killers, to stop Trinity, to find out who they are, and then of course this leads to, well, before I get into that, there's also the DLC of Rise of the Tomb Raider as well, where it's not shown if it's canon to these games. But with the DLC, Lara gets another taste of the supernatural in the Baba Yaga, the Baba Yaga DLC. For those who don't know, Baba Yaga was an old hag in Russian legend who lived in a hut on chicken legs, and she preyed on children. She ate children. But yeah, and in this DLC, yeah, he in this DLC, Lara ends up encountering this so-called witch of Baba Yaga, and she ends up seeing illusions because of Baba Yaga's power. She sees illusions. So she sees illusions of her father. She sees illusions of her father's suicide, and she's led to question just what is she traveling for? What is she looking for in this adventure? What are the answers she's really searching for? So it leads Lara to question herself and her motives, her reasons for why she's on this adventure. And it was really a good DLC, a very good DLC. But this just adds more depth to Lara. Like she's got all these questions. Why is she so determined to find these answers? What is it she's looking for? Is she looking for closure, or is she really looking for answers, or is she just trying to find an excuse to hate Trinity, or an excuse to just run from the past? There's a lot of questions that get brought up in this DLC because of the Lara's hallucinations. But of course, months after Rise of the Tomb Raider, we are then treated to the final game in the Tomb Raider Survivor trilogy, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And again, this being the third one. This is the game that really cements Lara's growth in the trilogy sequel, because this is where we see Lara. This is where we see Lara fall as a Tomb Raider. Not die. She doesn't die, but she falls. She ends up doing something stupid and causing a mistake. And this is where we see Lara fall into darkness, as it were, as she succumbs to her lust to see Trinity brought down. Because in this game, Lara has discovered the head of Trinity's High Council, basically a very, very high-ranking Trinity member called Pedro Dominguez? I think that, or Domingue? I can't remember. This is where we see Lara. She gets a bit too caught up. Yeah, she gets a bit too caught up in her obsession with stopping Trinity. And she ends up finding a dagger called the Dagger of Shak Shell, and references to a hidden city. And Shak Shell was a Mayan god. Was a Mayan god. Oh, excuse me. And the Dagger of Shak Shell leads her to the silver box of Ixchel, and a warning of the cleansing, an apocalypse, an apocalypse that basically results in a permanent solar eclipse. Results in a permanent solar eclipse. Now, you would think with Lara, with her past adventures, she's very cautious. She's like, okay, you would think that she's very, okay, I need to be careful of this. I don't want to make a mistake. I want to make sure I find this and doesn't get in the wrong hands. of course, with her obsession with stopping Trinity and hindering Trinity so they don't get what they want, Lara ends up activating. Lara ends up activating the cleansing. She ends up activating the apocalypse herself, beginning the countdown to its completion. And the only way to actually stop it is to unite the dagger with the box. But this would also give whoever does it the power to remake the world as they see fit. And of course, this is Dominguez's plan. He wants to remake the world as he sees fit. Unfortunately, her obsession with stopping Trinity, and her actions of taking the dagger, they cause a tsunami. They cause a tsunami to destroy the town of Cozumel. Cozumel, which Lara and Jonah were visiting during the Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. Unfortunately, this tsunami ends up killing a whole bunch of innocent people. Something that Lara doesn't really think about until Jonah points it out to her, and she realizes that she did wrong, but she doesn't stop. She still continues determined to stop Trinity. And so again, this is where we start to see Lara's fall. She's her fall into obsession with trying to stop Trinity, and to the point where again she accidentally caused a freak tsunami that caused the death of so many innocent people. So there's definitely, again, this is the slow fall of Lara, and of course this leads her and Jonah to the Amazon. Excuse me. Apologies. This leads Lara and Jonah to the Amazon in search of the hidden in search of Pedro Dominguez's path. Of course, their plane gets Their plane crashes in the second of the cataclysms, a massive storm. This is all leading up to the permanent solar eclipse, which is basically going to be the apocalypse. And during their journey in the Amazon, Jonah and Lara find the hidden city of Paititi. Yeah, they find the hidden city of Paititi, which is the hidden city shown in the murals, where they will find the box of Ixchel. And it's where it's where they learn more about the cleansing, more about the dagger and the box. And they learn that piercing the box with the dagger will grant the it will grant the user the power of the mind god Kukulkan. I can never say it right. Kuikun. I think it's Kuikun. Kuikan. I think it's Kuikan. But yeah, they will grant the user the power of the mind god Kukuikan. Who can this power, which will then able to them to halt the cleansing. And Lara ends up saving a boy named Etzli, who he then leads them to the hidden city of Paititi. And Lara is then brought to his mother, Unuratu, who is she's the queen of Paititi. She's the queen of Paititi. It's there that Lara is also. She also gets a bit of a bombshell as well. Unuratu is the sister-in-law. Is the sister-in-law of a man named Amaru, and she finds out that Amaru is actually Pedro Dominguez, That's his real name. He is in fact from Paititi. So this is a bit of a bombshell, because it means that Dominguez is in Paititi. He's in the city. He's in the city, and it turns out he is the leader of a cult who he is the leader of a cult dedicated to Kukui-kan. And so believing that, and of course they believe that the cult already has the box. So Lara and Unaratu, they attempt to steal it. Unfortunately, Unaratu is captured. As she journeys for Paititi, Lara also discovers strange humanoid monsters covered in ancient Mayan markings and paint. That are identified as the Yaxio. I can never say its name right. Maybe I'll stream the games one day. I don't know. And they're the guardians of the box under their leader Crimson Fire. And as Lara journeys through Paititi, she discovers the box was taken centuries ago by Andre Lopez during the Spanish conquest of South America. And Lara realizes that she needs to rescue Unaratu. Sorry, she needs to rescue Unaratu. But it's through rescuing Unaratu that they learn that Amaru does not actually fully understand the ritual. He doesn't understand the ritual. He believes that he will be imbibed with Kukui-gan's power. But what it actually does is it actually sacrifices it to stop the cleansing. So in the end, he's not gonna have the power he's craving. He's not gonna have the power of Kukui-kan permanently. He's just gonna have it until the cleansing gets stopped. Of course, so this of course means that Lara has to obtain the power of Kukui-kan to stop the ritual. However, it comes at a cost, because it comes at not a cost, but there's a risk, because the box has the power to influence the person who has the power of Kukui-kan. And of course, this means that Lara has to be really careful. She has to not let herself be influenced by the power of the box. And so Lara and Jonah, they're separated as they leave Paititi. But they're soon reunited at an oil refinery where they discover the location of the box. A Christian mission, like a church, kind of like monastery, in South America, that the Lopez established. And it's underneath this church, this monastery, that Lara and Jonah find the box in the secret catacombs. Of course, Amaru finds them, and Amaru finds them and demands that Lara give him the box. Of course, it's during this encounter Lara finally gets the answer she's looking for. It turns out Amaru ordered her father's death to prevent her father from finding Paititi. He ordered her father's death to stop him from finding Paititi and revealing it to the world. It is protecting it in his own way. And of course, Lara tries to talk to Amaru, tries to say to him, you can use this power to benefit the world. You can use the ritual to benefit the world. But Amaru, being the villain, the maniacal villain he is, who's so deluded in his goals, he believes the cleansing will only affect Paititi. and he ends up leaving Lara and Jonah to escape the third cataclysm, which is a massive landslide, earthquake that causes a landslide. And it's back in Paititi that Lara and Jonah they help the newly crowned Etzli because Unaratu gets killed. They help the newly crowned Etzli lead an assault on the cult of Kukulkan's temple because they want to disrupt Amaru's ceremony and avoid the fourth cataclysm, which is a volcanic eruption. This, of course, being all four elements that are in most myth. You know, we had the element of water with the tsunami, we had the wind with the storm, earth with the earthquake, and now we have a volcanic eruption. So there's a lot of symbolism as well. Unfortunately, Lara is forced to go alone, and it's during this that she encounters the Yakshil again, and she encounters Crimson Fire. But instead of fighting them like she has before, she convinces the Yakshil and the Yakshil and Crimson Fire to help her stop Amaru. To convince her to help her stop Amaru. And of course they do. Amaru's second command, Rourke, and the High Council of Trinity, they are killed by the Yakshi. They're killed by the Yakshil. While Lara makes her way to fight Amaru. Where he starts the ritual and he absorbs Kukulkan's power. Just as the solar eclipse begins. And of course they fight, and after Lara beats Amaru and kills him, Amaru transfers, in his death, Amaru transfers Kukulkan's power to Lara. But of course, true to Unaratu's warnings, Lara is tempted by the box to use the box to revive her parents. But it's at this point that Lara she's not obsessed with her goals anymore. Whereas before she would have jumped at the chance to be reunited with her parents, and she would have jumped at the chance. Now, she just wants to save the world. So instead of reviving her parents, she lets Crimson Fire symbolically stab her, thus sacrificing Kukulkan's spirit and stopping the cleansing. So Lara has saved the world. Even though she was the one who caused it to be on a path of destruction, she saved the world. She stopped the destruction and she saved the world. And in the aftermath, we see Unaratu's laid to rest. Jonah finally decides to leave Lara and take a vacation. With Lara staying in Paititi to help Etzli restore the city. And it's here we're given a post-credit scene which finalizes Lara's growth into the Tomb Raider that we know and love today. Because in this post-credit scene, Lara is planning her next adventure at Croft Manor. And it's during this planning that she acknowledges that her role isn't to solve the world's mysteries. It's to protect them. And that is why she becomes a Tomb Raider. That is why she becomes the Tomb Raider. She does, she's like in the original game. She's not trying to solve the world's mysteries just out of curiosity, but because she wants to protect them from people who would misuse them. And a lot of people didn't like Shadow the Tomb Raider. A lot of people thought that Shadow the Tomb Raider was kind of lacking compared to Rise and. It's very lacking compared to Rise and 2013. But no one can deny that over the course of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, over the course of the 3 games, we see Lara's growth. Scared, timid Lara in 2013. A bit more confident Lara, who we can see the fires of being a Tomb Raider start to burn. They're starting to the embers are starting to burn. But so is that obsession with trying to solve the world's mysteries and to find the truth about Trinity. And then, of course, in Shadow, we see this finalized where After Lara has risen up to becoming this confident Tomb Raider, she falls because of her own selfish greed and her own selfish ambition to stop Trinity and get the answer she wishes. And again, she doesn't even acknowledge the fact that she caused a tsunami, which she started the world onto apocalypse. All she cares about at the time, all she cares about at the time is all she cares about at the time is just trying to stop Trinity. But it's through this mistake where she causes the world to go into start on its road to apocalypse, that she then starts being a bit more humbled again, slowly becoming more of a Tomb Raider, and becoming to this answer she gets at the end of the game, where she realizes that her role is to protect the world's mysteries. And so, again, despite the fact that a lot of people didn't like Shadow Tomb Raider, it's not far-fetched to say Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the most important game in the Survivor trilogy, because again, this is where we get to see Lara fall and rise again as a Tomb Raider. This is where we get to see that she doesn't know all the answers like she thinks. She's not as as competent as she thinks. She's trying to do the right thing, but she's going about it the wrong way. This is again we see the fall that we see her fall into shadow. She becomes a shadow of the Tomb Raider she was becoming, and again, as the game goes on, we see her come to terms with this and realize, I need to do better. I can't let myself fall to obsession and temptation like the people I fought against have done. And so again, this is, in my opinion, why Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the most important trilogy, because it finalizes that growth of Lara's, that growth that again started from 2013 and has built and culminated into the end of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where she has not only has she taken over her father's business, her father's company, but she's restored Croft Manor. She's ready for her next adventure. She's ready for her next adventure as a Tomb Raider, and again, and it's where her character development comes full circle. There's, with any luck, if we get another game in this series, which I really hope, maybe we'll see more of Lara Croft. Maybe we'll see more of Lara as the full-fledged Tomb Raider that she has now become. Maybe we'll see her. Like, she's competent. She's how she is in Tomb Raider 1. But after waffling on all this time, there's still the unanswered question: how does the Survivor trilogy hold up to the original games? Now, I love the original games. They are an amazing part of my childhood. There are games that I prefer more than others. I know some people may think that my favorite game in the original series is Tomb Raider 3 or Tomb Raider 2, or even Tomb Raider 4. For me, it's Tomb Raider Legend. That's my favorite game in the original series. Tomb Raider Legend, because King Arthur. I'm a big sucker for Arthurian legends, and I love the game. I love the game, and I love the story of her trying to find her mother, her mother's, where her mother went, especially with the music stopped. Especially with the sequel of it, Underworld, where which involves Thor's hammer and Valhalla. It's where we discover that she, what happened to her mother. But yeah, anyway, yeah, as much as I love as much as I love the original series, again, Legend being my favorite. There's still the question of how does the Survivor trilogy hold up to the originals, and I think with how different they are, despite being how different they are, honestly, with what I know about the series and what I've played of the trilogy, I want to say that they hold up well. They hold up very well. The originals may be better for some. The Survivor trilogy may be better for some. I know, despite how much I love the original games, I love the Survivor trilogy. I definitely had a lot more fun with the Survivor trilogy than I did with the original games, because I love that growth of Lara, the story of Lara, how she became the Tomb Raider, how she becomes the Tomb Raider, the story of her trying to find her father's, what happened to her father? Was her father a suicide? Was he actually assassinated? I love the story of it. And I really can't wait to see if they do another Tomb Raider game. I'm really hoping they do, and I hope they continue the Survivor trilogy, for the Survivor story, because I really want to see what is next for Survivor Lara. But to answer the question again, I feel that the Survivor trilogy, while they weren't as well received as the originals, I think that they are just as important to Lara's story, despite being an alternate timeline, alternate universe. I still feel that they are important to Lara's story. They are a vital part of Lara's growth, again, her growth into the Tomb Raider. And I honestly would love it. I honestly would love it if one day they connect the two. That, if they do a prequel, if they do a sequel to the Survivor trilogy based on Tomb Raider 1, I would love to see that. To bring it full circle. We've seen Lara become the Tomb Raider. We've seen the start of her journey. We've seen her come full circle. I would love to see where they take her journey next, now that she's actually become a Tomb Raider who is trying to protect the world's mysteries. Trying to protect the world's mysteries from those who would misuse them. So, all in all, I want to say, despite the despite the question in the podcast topic, I think that the Survivor trilogy holds up perfectly to the original games. They are a perfect, again, while they're separate universes, they are a perfect prequel. They're a perfect unofficial prequel to the original Tomb Raider games, and I cannot wait to see more of them. But I think I've waffled on enough. I want to say, hopefully, I think I've covered a lot. I think I've covered a lot in this video. Hopefully, you guys will. Want to learn more about Tomb Raider now. The Survivor trilogy. Maybe you want to play them for yourselves. I might stream them one day. We'll see what people think. I might stream them. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I want to say thank you everyone for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, in my eye. If you're watching this on YouTube in the future, I hope you're enjoying the other episodes that are probably out by the time you're watching this. If you haven't already, I hope you have checked me out on Twitch for more content, and you can see me do live. But yes, hopefully I have answered. Hopefully I've given some depth into the Survivor trilogy, and again, just how well they hold up to the original series. So yes, thank you for watching, guys. Please remember to hit the shiny like and subscribe buttons down below if you like this content, if you like this video, and hopefully you guys will just hopefully you guys will check out more episodes in the future. Thank you for watching, everyone, and as always, may the crystals may you ever walk in light the crystals. Take care, everyone, and thank you for watching.